Hello everyone. Today I start a new chapter, French Revolution. This chapter is too long, so this is the first part of the French Revolutions. So first let's start understand the word revolution. A revolution is a successful attempt by the large group of people to change the political systems of their country by force. Today, idea of equality, liberty, and fraternity are common. Freedom is an accepted concept. How and where did these ideas originate? Where, whom, and why were the human rights declared as natural rights of man? Let us answer these questions by reading about the French Revolutions. French society during the late 18th century. Dynasty. The dynasty at this time was Bourbon dynasty, and the king was Louis XVI, and Marie Antoinette, the Australian prince, his wife. In 1774, Louis XVI of the Bourbon family of King ascended the throne of France. He was 20 years old and married to the Australian princess Marie Antoinette. So when Louis XVI became king, he faced financial crisis, and there are many reasons for this financial crisis: long years of war, luxurious life at the Palace of Versailles, France help to 13 American colonies against Britain, and the result is the war added more than a billion livre to a debt that had already risen to more than 2 billion livre. And what is the livre? Unit of currency in France discontinued in 1794. Lenders who gave the state credit now began to charge 10% interest on loans. The state was forced to increase taxes. French society in the 18th century. Now we discuss about the other members of the societies. That time society was divided into estates. And what is the estate? Estate is the political and social status of the persons. So these estates divided into three estates. First estates belong to clergy, and the clergy is the group of persons invested with a special function in the church. Second estate, nobility, and third estates belong to big businessmen, merchants, court officials, lords, peasants, artisans, small peasants, laborers, servants. As you know, pigeons made up about 90% of the population. However, only a small number of them owned the land they cultivated. About 60% of the land was owned by the nobles, the church, and richer members of the third estates. The members of the first two estates, that is the clergy and the nobility, enjoyed certain privileges by birth. The most important of these was exemption from paying taxes to the state. The nobles further enjoyed feudal privileges. These include feudal dues which they extracted from the peasants. Peasants were obliged to render services to the lord, to work in his house and field, to serve in the army, or to participate in building and roads. Third estates paid taxes to the states and to the church. The taxes paid to church is called tithe, and it was the 1/10 of the agriculture produce, and this was the Direct tax. Taxes to the states, direct tax is tally and indirect tax is global on the tobacco and salt consumptions. The struggle to strive. The population of France rose about 23 million in 1705 to 28 million in 1789. So 5 million population rose during these years. So the price of bread, which was the staple diet of the majority, rose rapidly. This is the what is the staple diet of the France people? Bread. The gap between the poor and the rich widened. Things become worse when your drought or had reduced the harvest. This led to a subsistence crisis. Now, we know the role of the middle class in the revolutions. So, the 18th century witnessed the emergence of social groups termed the middle class. This middle class group belonged to the third estates, who earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade. All of these were educated, believed that no group in society should be privileged by birth. A person's special position must depend on his. Critical thinkers involved in revolutions. For John Locke, he wrote a book, Two Treatises of Government, and he rejected divine and absolute rights of monarch, favored society with freedom, equal laws, and opportunities for all. Jean-Jacques Rousseau book Social Contract favored government based on a social contract between people and their representatives. Montesquieu book he wrote a book The Spirit of the Laws favored division of powers between executive, judiciary, legislature, and this power of separation already has been done in America. The outbreak of the revolution start with the meeting of the Estate General. So let's start first. What is Estate General? The Estate General was a political body to which the three estates sent their representatives. The king had to call a meeting of the Estate General, which would then pass his proposal for new taxes. The monarch alone could decide when to call a meeting of this body. The last time it was done in 1614. On 5th May 1789, Louis XVI called together an assembly of the Estates General to pass proposal for new taxes. And this was the structure of the Estates General. First estate First estate sent 300 representatives, second estate sent 300 representatives, and third estate sent 600 representatives. Voting in the estate general in the past had been conducted according to the principles that each estate had one vote, and the result was 2 by 1 because first and second estate always with the king side because they didn't pay any tax. So now the that third estate demanded that each representative have each vote. So now the result was 600 and 600. So in this condition, no act passed without the consent of the third estate. Awakening of the third estate, vital role played by Mirabeau and Abolishes. Mirabeau was born in a noble family but was convinced of the need to do away with a society of feudal privileges. He brought a journal and delivered powerful speeches to the crowd assembled at Versailles. Abolishes, originally a priest, wrote an influential pamphlet called What is the Third Estate? Remember this pamphlet's name? It inspired people through writing and speeches. Tennis court oath. The demand was rejected by the king. Which demand rejected by the monarch? The third estate demanded that voting now be conducted by the assembly as a whole, where each member would have one vote, and this demand was rejected by the king. Third estate walkout gathered on 20th June 1789 on tennis court in Versailles, established a National Assembly, framed constitution for monarch in France. Storming of Bastille, which you can see here, what was the reasons? While the National Assembly was busy at Versailles drafting a constitution, the rest of France sitted with turmoil. A severe winter had meant a bad harvest. Price of bread rose. Often bakers exploited the situation and hoard supplies. After spending hours in long queues at the bakery, crowd of angry women stormed into the shops. Same time, the king ordered troops to move into Paris. On 14 July 1789, the agitated crowd stormed and destroyed the Bastille. This is important that in French Revolution, 14 July 1789. And the Bastille, a fortress prison symbol of monarchy, stormed it and released 7 prisoners. Its stone fragments were sold in the market. Incident considered to be the beginning of revelation. So, what is the beginning of revelation? The storming of the Bastille. As we summarize causes of the French Revolution, social cause, differences in society, discrimination, economic cause, war debt, empty treasures, bad harvest, unjustified taxation systems, political cause, weak administration, birthrights, poor policies of Louis XVI's role of philosophers, ignited people's mind talked against birthrights, advocate the idea of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And the immediate cause was insistence of Louis XVI on a state-wise voting for increasing of taxes in a state general in 1789. Recognition of National Assembly. Louis XVI recognized National Assembly, accepted that his power would now on be checked by constitutions. On 4th August 1789, Assembly abolished feudal system. Clergy is forced to give up their privileges. Tithe abolished. Tithe, a tax which we pay to church. Land owned by the church seized. Government gained income of 2 billion livres. France became the constitutional monarchy. And drafting of Constitution 1791 because to check and limit the power of king, to make France a constitutional monarchy, to share power among judiciary, executive, and legislature. The political system under the Constitution of 1791. Under this constitution, all citizens of France were divided into active citizens and passive citizens. Only men above 25 years of age who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of labor wage were given the status of active citizens, and the remaining men and all women were classed as passive citizens. And these active citizens cast their vote to elect a group of electoral, and the group of electors 50,000 men, and that these 50,000 men vote for National Assembly and they elect 745 members, and this is the legislature system under the 1790 Constitution. The active citizens also vote for the judges, and they started here is the separate judiciary and executive. Under the executive comes monarch and ministers, and National Assembly control on monarch and ministers. And monarch also have veto power. He can deny any act which was passed by National Assembly. So here uh, we can see power of separation as judiciary, executive, and legislature. Natural rights, which was given by the Constitution of 1791. First is the right to life, freedom of speech, equality before laws, freedom of opinion. This is a painting which was painted by the La Barbarian, and the Declaration of the Right of Man and Citizens here shown in this picture. As you know, you can see here many symbols such as broken chain, winged women, red cap, scepters, rods, and snakes, sun, etc. These symbols are why were used in this picture because the majority of men and women in the 18th century could not read or write, so images and symbols were frequently used instead of printed words to communicate important ideas. So we saw some important symbols here. The eye with a triangle radiating light. The all-seeing eye stands for knowledge. Blue, red, and white, the national colors of the France. The broken chain stands for the act of becoming free. Red Frisian cape worn by a slave upon becoming free. The bundle of rod or fasces, strength lies in unity. The winged woman, personification of laws. Snakes biting its tail to form a ring, symbol of eternity. A ring has neither beginning nor ends. Scepter, symbol of royal power. The law tablet. The law is the same for all, and all are equal before the law. France abolished monarchy and became republic. Began with Louis XVI secret negotiation with Persia king. Rulers of other neighboring countries who were worried by the developments in France, they made plans to send troops to put down the events that had been taken place in France since the summer of 1789. National Assembly voted in April 1792 declaring war on Persia and Austria. Thousands of people joined army. Patriotic song The Marseillaise composed by the poet Roger de Lisle, now the national anthem of France. Do, Jacobin Club was the most important club during the French Revolutions. Got its name from the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris, to be known as the Sans Culottes, meaning those without knee breeches. A large group among the Jacobins decided to start wearing long striped trousers similar to those worn by dock workers. This was to set themselves apart from the fashionable sections of society, especially nobles who wore knee breeches. It was a way of proclaiming the end of the power wielded by the wear of knee breeches. Men wore in addition the red cap that symbolized liberty. But women, however, were not allowed to do so. The members of the Jacobin Club belonged mainly to the less prosperous section of society, such as small shopkeepers, artisans, soap makers, pastry work cooks, watchmakers, printers, etc. And the leader was Maximilian Robespierre. Actions of the Jacobins. On 10th August 1792, stormed palace of the Tuileries. Reasons. The summer of 1792, the Jacobins planned on insurrections of a large number of Parisians who were angered by the short supplies and high prices of food. Massacred the king guards and had the king himself as hostage for several hours. The assembly voted to imprison royal family. Election held all men 21 years and above, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. And what is the age in the constitutional monarchy? That time the age is 25 years, and one other condition that they have paid 3 days equal tax. But both conditions removed from here and as reduct as 21 years. But here you see only men's are allowed. Women's will not allowed here. Breath of Republic, formation of National Convention on 21st September 19. Oh, sorry, on 21st September 1792 for started formation of convention, newly elected body called convention, abolish the monarchy, declared republic, no more hereditary monarchy, elect the government including the head of the state of the government. Execution of the King Louis XVI on January 21st, 1793. A shortly execution of the Queen Mary Antoinette, the Reign of Terror under Maximilian Robespierre. The major events under the Reign of Terror were timing 1793 to 1794. Robespierre followed the policy of severe control and punishment. Government issued various laws. Enemies arrested and guillotined. Guillotine invested by Dr. Guillotine. Arrest of Maximilian in July 1794. And the reason is his supporters began to demand modernization after arresting next day sent to guillotine. A directory in France. After the abolition of Jacobin Club, new constitution started in the France and power again came in the hands of the middle class. Under the new constitution, two legislative assembly will be elected by the members, and these two legislative assemblies elected directory of 5 members. Why they elect directory of 5 members? Because as a safeguard against the concentration of power in one man executed as under the Jacobins control and punishment by Maximilian Robespierre. So here is the flow chart of the direct session. Follow the Jacobin Club and new constitution provided two elected legislative councils. This legislative council appointed directory executive with 5 members, and the directors often clash with the legislative councils who then sought to dismiss them. The political instability of the directory paved the way for the rise of a military dictator, Napoleon Bonaparte. Thank you for watching.